I'm just going to say this to the camera. You don't have to go. You don't. And the reason I say that is I wish someone had said that to me, Carrie.
Yeah.
Nobody ever told me that. Nobody ever said you can choose yourself even on the holidays. You can choose yourself on Thanksgiving. You can choose yourself on Christmas Day. You got to think about all the performing we do in these holidays, making it as good as we possibly can, cooking all the dishes, making it look beautiful, wrapping all the gifts. I want everyone to stop and say, what do I want?
Welcome to Carrie On, the show where we explore reinvention, self-discovery, and empowerment before, during, and after midlife. I'm your host, Carrie Murray. It's time to keep our head above the chaos and carry on. Today, we're stepping into a conversation most people avoid until it breaks them. It's that moment when you realize the most complicated relationship in your life is the one you were born into. My guest today, Liz Svatek, knows those crossroads all too well. She's a rapid transformational therapist, best-selling author of Finding Your Diamonds, CEO of Warrior Women, Inc., and the host of the globally ranked Liz Svatek Show. But before she became the powerhouse helping women breaking cycles of overworking and overgiving, she had to break the cycle herself. Liz grew up managing the fallout, addiction, manipulation, boundary-crushing behavior. She spent years doing what so many of us have endured as daughters and sisters. She tried to fix it, rise above it, ignore it. Then she realized she was disappearing in the process. Because here's the truth at the heart of today's episode. What if the most radical act of self-love you ever make is walking away from someone you were taught that you could never leave? Today we're talking about the grief, the clarity, the guilt, the freedom, and the absolute courage it takes to save yourself. Welcome, Liz.
Thank you, Queen. Thank you for
I'm
that
so
intro.
happy you're here. I want to start with how we met. And I have a photo. And
You do not.
I do.
Oh my God, you're
And I'm
whipping
not
out
going
a
to show
photo.
that you guys, you're not going to get to see this. This
Oh
is
my
just
gosh.
for
Wait,
Liz.
let me give her my glasses. Okay.
So we met at Women on the Rise, which was a bra event. I
Yeah.
had never met you before. And I want you to look at that, Liz. And tell me, how different is the Liz today to that Liz in
I mean, don't make
2018?
me cry already, Carrie. I've been on the show 2 seconds. Holy moly. I can't get over that. Yeah. Well, you know what's so interesting about that time is that you and I are both in such a crossroads when we met.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah.
But I remember being like, God, what is my life? Like, what am I doing? Like, I had done so many things that other people maybe would have said were great things, right? I had a job that was paying me well. I had a marriage that I felt was, you know, a good marriage in some ways at that time. I had kids. I had all the trappings, and I had a nice house. I had all the things. But I was really searching for something inside myself, and I was miserable. I really didn't realize how miserable I was. And so when I was going to that, I was really going that, like, where are my people?
Yeah.
Where are the women that want to be real and like actually talk about real things and want to do something in this world and care? And so that was, and the way you guys welcomed me and was so shocking to me because you were already kind of a tight-knit group.
We were, yeah.
And so when everybody was so friendly to me, it was like honestly jarring for me. I was like, what is this? Because it was just so collaborative and so loving and so compassionate. It was jarring for me. But I thought, my God, this gives me hope, right? This gives me hope for what we all can have, right? When we really come with a clear intention and we say, like, I'm going to drop my weapons and my performing and just be me.
Yeah.
And really be honest about where I am.
So at that time, when I met you, you inspired me because you talked about you had this milestone birthday and you made all of these changes. And that was even before you wrote a book about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where did that, I gotta change. You've now meet a community of women that are supportive and you're getting an example of how women show up to each other, which you clearly didn't have a lot of that growing up that you talk about in the book. Oh, women can be friends and be friendly.
Yes.
What was the thing that was like, I gotta make a change? What was that? Was there a moment or was it a compilation of multiple things?
I think it was a compilation of watching so many women about to turn 50 and they were slinking into 50. They were hiding 50. They were like, don't celebrate me. And the general consensus was, I haven't done enough. I am not where I said I wanted to be. There was so much regret. And I thought, well, my God, I don't want to come into 50 like that. Like, I don't want to come into 50 in like shame and regret and shit. I don't want to come in like that. I want to come in strong. And I thought, well, what is it really going to take, right, to do that? So I really, at 49, that was almost like the ticking of the clock. Like, okay, I've got a year, right? Mm-hmm. What if everything was on the table? My marriage, my friendships, my relationships in my family. What if my job, my career, everything I was thinking, what if everything was on the table? And I could just really evaluate, like, is this really working for me? Do I really like this? Because at that point, I didn't even know what kind of ice cream I liked, Carrie. Like, if you asked me, I would have been like, I don't know. Like,
what do you like?
Exactly. That's what I felt like I had gotten to. What do you like? Mm-hmm. People pleaser. And so it really was hard. That year was not an easy year because I really, really had to say, do you want this marriage? Like, do you choose this? Mm-hmm. Because radical personal responsibility is not, it's everyone else's fault. Right? Radical personal responsibility is, which I fully believe in, to me, that's the birthplace of power. What do I want? What do I want, really? Not for someone else, not for my kids, but for me. And so that was a rough year of really looking at that. I know.
Wow. Deep breath.
Yes.
So in your book, and we're going to really dive into it, but in your book, Finding Your Diamonds, you talk about a lot of early childhood trauma, challenging family relationships. What was the dynamic like growing up in that type of household?
You know, it was volatile. So, you know, my father, it's so funny because if my father came in and sat at this table, you would like him. Mm. You would think he was funny, and I knew every story of his by heart, Carrie.
Yeah.
I could set up his joke for him.
You're a little sidekick.
I was the ultimate sidekick. I was a comedy partner. Mm-hmm. I wanted to please him so badly because I loved him so much. Yeah. But he was a terrorist in my home. You know, I never knew what I was going to get. And it would be over seemingly nothing. You know, I could spill my milk on the table and start laughing, and his hands were on my throat and my chair was on the ground. Mm-hmm. So there was just no way to know. He'd pick me up at the pool. I was 5 minutes late. I'd get in the car laughing. He'd reach around and slap my face. So it was so much. And then other things that you would think, right? Like I lied about something. And that was the biggest thing in my house. If you lied about something, you were going to die for it. You're not going to, it wasn't okay. I would lie about something and he would be like, well, let's talk it through. Like I was like, right. So I never knew what I was going to get. So it gave me so much PTSD because I didn't know what I was coming into, what reaction, none of the reactions would line up. So it really was, like I say in the book, I became the queen of eggshells, the queen of just like tippy-toeing around, smiling, making a joke, right? So that because I just didn't know what I was going to get.
Yeah. And that's it, your nervous system alone. My heart just increased, like knowing a child doesn't know where they're safe, right? And it's the first people you trust, the first people you're supposed to have a trusting relationship with, and they've betrayed you.
100%. And I saw something the other day, and it was said something to the effect of, if a child is afraid of their parents, that should be a red flag. Yeah. But back in our day, I'm just going to pretend we're exactly the same age. I'm 55. I think you're...
I'm barely 30.
Barely 30. Are you 55?
I'm 50.
Okay, 50, whatever. No, but really, back, those years ago, it was kind of like okay for you to fear your parent. It was like, I'm getting respect.
Yeah.
Right, we were spanked, and by the way, I now call that beating.
Yeah.
Because there was a belt, a branch, right? Like some of the spankings were a beating. Like, and we have to kind of start reframing this a little bit because it's abuse.
Yeah.
Did they know better? No. Is that the best that they knew at the time? Yes. And would we ever do it again today? Hell no, we would not. No. So we kind of have to call a thing a thing. Like I, for a long time, laughed all of this off. I really minimized it, but I don't anymore. I call it abuse, which, really is hard for me because I still love my father. Even though we're not in communication, I still love that man. Mm-hmm. But I really do believe that we have to call a thing a thing. But knowing that no child should be afraid of their parents is really like something we need to look for now. Like,
absolutely.
Is that child afraid? What's going on?
Yeah. Whew.
Yeah.
And how did your parents kind of lay out the foundation of your relationship with your sister?
Well, there was no foundation for that relationship.
You mentioned in the book how your mom made her best friend.
Yes.
And then that switched on her, as we all know with teenagers. We're not friends.
Yes, 100%. Yeah. Well, I mean, when I was born, I was a mistake. My mother got pregnant with a guy that she barely knew, and here comes this baby. So I ruined her life.
Wow.
Think about that.
Yeah.
She did not know this man. He's leaving for Vietnam, and she is pregnant and by herself. And so I really changed the trajectory of her whole entire existence, and not by her own choosing. My sister was her choice. She wanted that baby. That was the baby she wanted. And she didn't come until 8 years later. So it was a totally different relationship. I didn't realize how much resentment my mother had for me until one day I figured out that I was not the chosen. I was not planned. When I figured that out, it was like all the dominoes. Like I was like, oh, that's why you treat me like this. Like, but it made me feel so much better, honestly, because I was like, oh my God, this makes so much sense now. But yeah, we didn't really have a foundation for our relationship because she came in 8 years later to a completely different household and situation. And so I was on board with loving her and having a great sister and all the things, but she still came into a really volatile house where we were scratching and scrambling for any scraps of love we could get. So when you're coming into kind of a survival situation, it's really hard to have a good relationship when you're in that.
Sure, they're not fostering it. That's for sure. Yeah.
No.
Did they pit you against each other? Did they have you compete? Did they dote on her more in a way because she wasn't the accident? And they're older now, so they have probably an established job at this point, or they have more experience with children.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say more experience. What I would say is, she was 8 years younger. So they were like, be nice to your sister. You're the older one. You should know better. There was never like a kind of like, oh, well, you would like to have your privacy too. Or you have an opinion and a voice too. It was kind of always one-sided. Like, she was the one that they were like, oh, she's having problems. She's got to go to therapy. It was like, kind of like, she's the one we all have to feel sorry for. And she's the one with all the things. And I'm the happy light. I'm the comedian and the fun, and she gets to be the sad one and the one that has all the problems. And truthfully, I think it couldn't have gone any other way because my role was already taken.
And what would
my
happen,
comedian role.
Yeah, what would happen when you would get sad?
I didn't get sad.
You just put it away.
Yeah.
Wow. And when did that all bubble up for you? 49?
I mean, no, I mean, I started to untether and really look through this in therapy over the years. I mean, I think, therapy is super valuable for exploration in that way. But I have to say, really, and this is true for every woman that I now work with and I heal and all the things we do, I minimized it, Carrie. Because in my house, you just moved the hell on. That's the way it was. And you just toughed it out, and you were a good little soldier, and you just carried on. You just did. So I really didn't really go there for years and years and years. I think, when I started to have my own family, when I started to look at my kids and realize what I was living in versus what they're living in versus what I had lived in, that's when I think it became harder for me to keep all that emotion in check because I realized what I lived through.
Correct. And I'm sure you wanted to create a household that was the complete opposite. And we are it's very hard to not repeat. Have you ever found yourself like words coming out of your mouth saying, oh, that's my dad. Oh, that's my mom.
Well, I think we've all been there.
Yeah.
And 100% yes. I'm very proud that the volatile house that I grew up in, there's no violence in my house. I'm really proud of the fact that my kids don't live on eggshells. I'm very proud of that. But did I make a ton of mistakes, Carrie? Did I drink my way through a lot of parenting because I was just so obsessed with things being perfect that I burnt myself down? Yes, that all was true. I wish I could go back and be the woman I am now and do some of that parenting. I have such a love for that girl that was struggling and just numb and sad. It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. And the joke is like, oh, well, all our kids are going to therapy. Yes, they are going to go to therapy. We all just have to embrace we know now what we didn't know then, but also, God, we did better than we had it. We did. We moved the ball forward, and that's the part I'm really proud of.
Yeah, you should be.
Yeah.
You're a great mom.
Thank
You're
you.
a really great mom. So at what point in this journey maybe it was through a therapist or your husband or seeing your own children, did you say, I have to enforce a boundary with my sister? This has got to change. What was there a tipping point? Was it like, I'm done? Or was it a slow kind of gradual boundary?
You know what? It has been so much push-pull over the years. I mean, every holiday I had a stomach ache. I'd be throwing up in the toilet before I would see her. It was so much anxiety.
This is as an adult as well?
Oh, as a full-grown adult, yes. I mean, I kind of got a nice addition with my husband joining the family because I say he was my head of security, the team of one.
Right.
So he really was a nice buffer for me.
Yeah.
So he could stand up for me when I couldn't. He would highlight things that were happening that my family would be like just kind of just ignoring. So he was really great that way. That was the beginning of me kind of pulling away a little bit because of him. There was a moment where I was pregnant and my sister came into the shower where I was and she pushed me, which scared the living daylights out of me.
You were in the shower?
I was in the shower. We were kind of fighting, and I said, I'm taking a shower and I'm getting out of here. I don't want to talk about this anymore.
Right.
And she came into the shower where I was and started screaming at me while I was naked in the shower. There's no more vulnerable place you can be.
And pregnant.
And so I, of course, come out of the shower because I'm like trying to get a towel and she's trying to like push me. And thank God Brett came over. But that was sort of like step one in the untethering. And then there was really like one big last kind of fight that seemed like it was over nothing. But she took it further than she'd ever taken it before because she started mentioning the kids. And that's when something just snapped. I said, oh, God, I will let her do anything to me, but not these children.
Yeah.
So that was the end for me.
Yeah.
And really it became almost violent. And I thought, my God, if something happens to these kids, right? I just thought, my God, that I'll never forgive myself. So that was when I had to really say, Liz, girl, like, and Brett had already said, like, we can't go on like this, but he was so sweet and patient about it because he knew that it was going to be so different the way we were going to have to do it. So that was also in my 49th year, when I made that decision to actually cut ties with her.
Mm-hmm. And was it with your sister first and then your dad, or was it kind of like a group cutoff?
Yeah, right. You're dead to me, everyone.
Yes. Was it a twofer?
This is what's interesting. So I cut ties with my sister. It was the scariest thing I've ever done. I always tell people I'm the boundary queen because if you can set that boundary, you can do anything. So I've learned a lot about boundaries and that it is safe to let people go in your family. My father, that was his choice.
Oh.
So my father, during the election cycle with Donald Trump, the first run, he kept kind of making comments to me and, that I'm a liberal snowflake and, I live in California and everybody's evil there and terrible and your state is dragging us down. And I could just see that this rhetoric, and my father was a libertarian. So this is very strange to me. So he came more and more into this Republican, fanaticism. And just one day he was on the phone with me and he was saying a bunch of things. And I thought, this is not going to go well. Like I could just tell he had really become like a full MAGA fanaticist. Mm-hmm. And that was it. He chose to, and it was really, we just had a conversation. There was no conversation of like, I don't want to talk to you ever again. He just stopped talking to me. And I never really knew why, but I would joke with everybody that it's because I got Biden elected, which everybody knows I did because I have that power.
Well, congratulations.
Thank
I wish
you.
we could have harnessed it a little bit more.
I tried it for Kamala. It didn't work. But that's my joke. But I have a half brother actually, and I did ask him. I said, hey, what is the reason? I just want to make sure like I know what the reason. And he said, yeah, it's because you voted for Biden. And so that was that first election cycle, and after Biden won, that was it.
Yeah. And how would you define his type of narcissism?
My father? Mm-hmm. Well, it's so different, right? And there's so many different types of narcissists.
And I'm curious what your sister did and what he did.
Yes. Yeah. And you know what, listen, I think what's hard about this is so like the air you breathe. When you grow up with a narcissist, again, I just told you, he could sit at this table and you would be like, he is fun. right? And I miss that. I miss that kind of showman that he was, and how fun and great entertainer he was. I got so much from that. Like, I feel like that's kind of how I picked that up. Yeah. So he's so funny and delightful in that way. But he was a very covert, right? Like, so in other words, what we got at home, totally different from what was outside of the house.
Yeah.
Right? No one would dream, right, that he was that. It would leak out the edges, right? Like, if he was in a business deal, he would say things to people like, if you want to go ugly, let's go ugly early. Like, he just knew how to take somebody out at the knees. He had a silver tongue, like a razor tongue. So it would leak out in business in other ways, but generally out in the world, people would just think he was the most like dynamic and exciting person to be around. So it was very like strange, right? And I used to love when I was out with him in public, because I thought, well, he can't do anything for me out here, you know, like, so that was my chance to shine with him. And at home, it was a whole different story.
Wow.
Yeah.
And your sister's form of narcissism, was it similar?
You know, this is, I know that I don't even know if this is a term, but this is a more moral narcissism. So she is a super Christian. And this is what's interesting about Christianity for me, because I'm a Christian as well. But I believe that God loves everybody, you know, and I believe that God is a loving God. She is, you know, going to the church of judgment, and, you know, they bring politics into the church, which I don't think it belongs there at all. So for me, it's really based on what her perceived morals are, right? I'm better than. So it's a kind of it's an interesting, I feel like, new form of narcissism, or more now with what we're seeing in the world.
Evolution of narcissism?
Could be. I mean, I just think Christianity's gotten so skewed now, like what it really is versus what people are pretending that it is.
Entrepreneurs, listen up. Are you stuck trying to DIY your website and marketing only to end up frustrated and spinning your wheels? Stacy Beeman of Bee Woman Marketing gets it. She helps passionate business owners like you ditch the overwhelm and go back to your zone of genius. From strategic websites and automated marketing systems to branding, logo design, messaging, and social media strategy, she handles it all. Stacy has supported coaches, consultants, nonprofits, authors, educators, and your girl, Carrie Murray. So stop Googling how to embed a form or set up an email funnel and start growing your business. Visit bewomanmarketing.com and mention Carrie On, and you get 10% off of a strategy session with Stacy. Ready for TED is an 8-week program led by my friend, Tony Purry. She's a PR pro, executive media trainer, and yep, a TEDx speaker herself, who, by the way, was a guest right here on Carrie On, episode number 2. This guided experience is built just for women ready to clarify their message and craft a signature talk and share their big idea. Whether you're an expert, founder, or change maker, you'll expand your influence, raise awareness, and gain unshakable credibility when you hit the red circle. I've seen firsthand how Tony supports women through this process. It's remarkable. Spots are super limited. Apply now at readyforted.com and let Tony be your guide on the global stage.
So like me, you're all about the sisterhood, lifting and supporting women for whatever reason. If I need a cup of sugar or if I need a kidney, I could call you and you would find me a cup of sugar. Maybe not your own kidney, but you would find me a kidney.
I'll give you a kidney.
Yeah, well,
I got two,
lovely.
Carrie.
I mean, it's only generous. But knowing that, you've always been a warrior woman. You've been a champion. You have a whole show based on this. You have a whole, your Warrior Women Inc. is based on lifting and supporting women everywhere. How hard is it to know that you can't do that for your sister anymore? Like, what's that? Was that pull? Like, is there a part of the book that maybe reflects that?
Oh, God, yes. I'm going to read it to you, and I will say that was one of the points where that was why I couldn't let her go. Things were bad for so long, but it was really because I'm such a champion of women. I want sisterhood so badly. I had such shame about that, that I was not going to talk to my, like, who am I to not be in touch with my sister when all I care about is women?
Yeah.
Like, it just was so incongruent to me. But the letting go of her was the beginning of everything, which you know.
Yeah.
So I'm going to read you this because I
Please.
think it might help people relate. So even with all of this, I spent years fantasizing about the kind of sisterhood I saw in the movies, the deep, unbreakable bonds shared between women who grew up together. In my mind, I was Jo March and Little Women scribbling away, working on my novel, except mine was a screenplay, while my sister rallied around me, reading my words with admiration instead of criticism. I pictured myself in practical magic, dancing barefoot in the kitchen with my witchy sister, drinking margaritas at midnight instead of dodging emotional landmines. And don't even get me started on A League of Their Own. I wanted Kit and Dottie energy, where we could throw a few elbows, dramatically storm off to play for another baseball team, but ultimately tearfully hug it out at the Hall of Fame induction. Instead, my reality felt more like a psychological thriller, where I was never quite sure if I was getting the fun-loving sister or the monster in the plot twist. I kept thinking if I just believed in it hard enough, I could maintain and manifest a movie-worthy relationship. But life isn't scripted, and no amount of white Christmas sing-alongs or Hallmark-level optimism could rewrite the role my sister was determined to play, and believe me, I tried. Our relationship was a cycle of laughter, connection, cruelty, and abandonment. She could make me laugh my ass off and feel like we had the most unbreakable bond, and then, in an instant, she could turn, and I'd realize I was with a psychopath. We'd be doubled over in laughter, lost in our shared history, reminiscing about childhood adventures, and for that brief moment I would let myself believe, I would tell myself, this is it. We finally turned a corner, but it never lasted.
Wow. Where was your mom in all of this? When she would see you go through the turmoil and she would see, and now you're both adults and she's pushing you in the shower while you're pregnant.
Yeah.
Like did your mom ever protect you or stand up for you as a child or as an adult?
No. And, that's been very hard for me. But I think over the years, thinking about my mother's role in that family, she was in an abusive relationship. My father was volatile. He was a scary person to live with. When my sister started to take on those same qualities, my mother acted the same way, to just kind of shrink and be scared. I think my mother was really just absolutely traumatized and didn't know what to do with herself. So I've forgiven her for that. She's absolutely, when she read the book, she really didn't realize what my perspective was. She knows now, and she's very apologetic and feels, of course, really responsible for some of that. But I've had to let that go because I really realized we were all just survivors, just trying to survive.
Yeah. And what did she think of the book overall, reading it about, her role in the relationship with you and your sister? She contributed to where you're at today.
Yes, but let me just say this. There's something that I've really been looking at lately, which is spiritual arrogance. We can all say, I've done the work, Carrie, and I know better, and I would have done it different, I really want to caution everybody out of that because we're all the teacher and the student, right? I have a lot to learn. I may be over here coaching women and healing and doing all the things, but guess what? I'm still a student. I'm still learning, right? And my mother is still a student, and she's still learning. She's taught me a lot, but she's still in her learning phase too, and we're both there. And so, I look back at that and I think it couldn't have gone another way. The way it was set up, the roles we all played, it could not have gone another way. So it wasn't that she set it up. It was set, right? I've got this abusive father. I'm born first, the child that's not really wanted. I become the ray of sunlight, right? My father's the oppressor. My mom shrinks back. And then here comes my sister, who's basically voicing all the things that nobody is saying. She's acting out all the pain we're feeling, but we're trying to hide. It was embarrassing for us. We had to take her to therapists, and it was like growing up with a sister with cancer. It was like there was always something, right, that was wrong, but she was almost like the voice of what we were all pushing down. So it was the way it was going to go. It really couldn't have gone another way.
Any other way. And now I think what's amazing, and it's very difficult to do, is to break that cycle of violence, to break that continued path into your own children and everything. And we talk about how our nervous system it's in our DNA. The nervousness we feel now, is going to transfer to our children and everything. So knowing that, and you and Brett made a conscious decision, we're going to raise our children differently. We're going to have When your mom sees you raising your own kids, what does she say about it?
Yeah, it's very different. She's very proud of me. She thinks I'm a great mother and a great wife and great all the things. She loves, by the way, she is my biggest fan. She's taken my class, which has been incredible, like to have my mother do this kind of level of work, which is amazing. She was a very good student. But it's a different story at my sister's house. And I think she's just come to really appreciate when she's with me. It's very calm, very relaxed. We have so much fun. She's always saying things like, oh, I had the best time, you know?
Yeah.
With my sister, it's very volatile. She's really kind of in the same house that she grew up in. She's created that environment. And as you know from narcissists, they're very disruptive. They love the chaos and disruption, and they create it, you know, and they'll create it all day long. So that's that house. And so that's really hard for her when she has to go there. And she's, you know, she has said to me before, you know, I can't cut your sister off like you did. I can't do that.
That was actually my next question.
It's tough,
Yeah.
right? She's done so much work, my mom. She is turning 80. She would hate that I'm saying that. She's turning 80, and I really think she deserves peace, happiness, calm.
Do you think your sister has aged her faster than she should have?
I mean, I think all children age their mothers faster than they should have. So yes, Carrie. But no, I don't think necessarily she's aged her. I think it's more like, you know, I hate that my mother has that level of stress. And that there's always these phone calls and these texts, and you know, and because I was that person. My sister would text me at 6 a.m, can we talk? And my stomach would just go to my knees. You know, I've been on the other side of that relationship, so I hate that she's having it. So I try to encourage her and be encouraging with boundaries, with love, you know. But she says to me, like, I can't walk away like you did, you know. And I understand that. That's her child. I get that, you know. But it is hard because she sees how much freedom I have. She sees how much freedom I have, how in love with my life I am, how calm I am, how things are just flowing for me, and I think she wants that too.
Yeah. So I'm going to transition because that reminded me. You are a rapid transformational therapist.
Yes.
And I'm sure Liz at 15 wanted to be an actress and comedian, right? And
Absolutely.
now you've made this transition. We met at a women's empowerment group. You know, tell us what that is and how that has helped in your healing of the loss of your family, half of it.
Yeah, I have to tell you, it's been the whole thing, if you really want to know. So rapid transformational therapy is, I like to say, it is like hypnotherapy meets 5 years of traditional therapy. So in 90 minutes, I can take care of what most therapists can do in 5 years' time, 3 years' time. It works on that level because it is dealing with the subconscious mind. And when I talk about the PTSD that I suffered, I would get a text from my kids at school, and they would be like, I forgot my notebook. And it would give me the same visceral fear response as my father coming in the room when I was a child. I had tethered to that.
Wow.
And so there was no amount of talking to me about that. It didn't matter. I knew what it was. But when I was able to heal that on a subconscious level, it was incredible for me. I finally could relax. I was always addicted to worry. I was always worried about my children, worry about the world, worry. And untethering from that is so incredibly relaxing and calming. It's just been beautiful, but it really is a miracle. And I think for me, you know, now that I do these sessions, you know, mostly with women, but some men too, the thing that is so interesting to me, Carrie, is there's a part of the healing where I reconnect you with your inner child, with your little girl. And whenever I do that, I'm able to put the little girl kind of inside of your body. And when that happens, I watch a light start from their hearts, and it goes up their neck, up their face, and I watch, it's like they have a light bulb in their mouth. I watch it goes up their face, and I watch people drop 5 years, 10 years off of their face. And I used to not say anything about it because I thought these people are going to think I'm crazy if I say this. Then I started saying it. I said, oh my God, you look like a different person. Now I say it, and people are saying, you know what? I went to the gym. I saw my trainer. I went to my husband. He said, I look different. I look younger. People can't figure it out. What did you do? It's the letting go of all that trauma, all that pain, right? When someone comes to me with 30, 40 years of sexual trauma or PTSD or whatever it is, 20 years, 10 years, and I can remove it in 90 minutes, nobody needs to go to traditional therapy anymore. This is the wave of the future, rewiring the subconscious. So I'm super passionate about it. It saved my life, and I want to heal as many women as possible.
And how are you beyond that? I know you have your Warrior Women group, and I just saw you were in beautiful Sedona. Tell us about how you work past the rapid transformation, but like how you continue to support these women and your clients that have gone through 90 minutes, cool,
yes.
Stamp, no, you're not done. Like,
yeah.
How do you keep nourishing those women that you've worked with and bringing in new women?
That's a great question. I think that rapid transformational healing is really a gateway. It's like a threshold moment, a doorway. Once you walk through the door, anything's possible. But then you need the tools, right? To be able to actually coach yourself, live your life, deal with all the daily stuff. I always call this the trash can pandas, right? The raccoons you see the raccoons come, they take all your trash out, they throw it in the street. That's life. Mm-hmm. I can't stop that. That's going to happen. So I have a foundations class where I teach everybody the tools that they need to self-coach. Once you do that and you do some healing, then you're ready for legacy and impact and purpose and to start exploring that. And so that's when things get really interesting. So when women kind of walk through that initial door of healing, they get those tools, anything is possible. Then we start really locking into, through human design, what they're here to do, their purpose, their calling, their legacy, their impact. That to me is exciting. I feel like I'm just creating a nation of warrior women that are out there leading in whatever area. And you could be just leading your family, that's enough. The matriarch of your family. I love that. But so many of these women have really big things to do out in the world, and it's fun to support women like you, Carrie, who are doing big things.
True that. This is going to come out near the holidays. And what advice would you give to someone who's like, fuck, Thanksgiving, Christmas, I got to go see my sister, my whoever, my cousin, my drunk uncle who abused me as a kid. What 100%. Advice would you give to those people who feel they have to go?
Yeah. I'm just going to say this to the camera. You don't have to go. You don't. And the reason I say that is I wish someone had said that to me, Carrie.
Yeah.
Nobody ever told me that. Nobody ever said you can choose yourself even on the holidays. You can choose yourself on Thanksgiving. You can choose yourself on Christmas Day. You got to think about all the performing we do in these holidays, making it as good as we possibly can, cooking all the dishes, making it look beautiful, wrapping all the gifts. I want everyone to stop and say, what do I want? What do I want on this holiday? What's the feeling I want to have? What's the experience I want to have? Because maybe the experience is I'm going to cook one dish and I'm going to order in the rest. Maybe the experience is we're not doing big gifts this year. We're just going to hang out and watch movies and be silly together and play games. You really have to give yourself permission to not spend time with the people who absolutely rip your heart out of your chest. And when you do that, are you okay?
No, I'm just thinking my holidays are so different now. And I don't know what they're going to look like. And it never occurred to me to say, well, what do I want to do?
Isn't that just crazy?
Yeah. They look so, sorry, not to make it about me.
No, make it about you. Make it about you.
I spent 20 years of tradition, and now it's gone.
Yeah, but let me say this. Some of that tradition was performance. Some of that tradition was survival. I got to just make it look good because I don't know what I'm dealing with over here, right?
Correct.
We know.
Or these people.
Right. So now think of it as this. You choosing, Carrie, nobody can create more beautiful moments than you. Look at all the things you've already created. So just thinking of literally from a heart standpoint, forget the things. What is the feeling you want to create? I just want to be in my pajamas with these people. I want them to feel so relaxed. I want them to feel so happy and giggly. What kind of zaniness? I started bringing in, Carrie, a saran wrap ball. Have you heard of this?
No.
You start wrapping a ball of things, money, socks,
Oh,
toys.
yes, I have
and
heard
it
of this.
becomes this
Yeah,
big.
I have heard
and
of
you
this.
run it like a game show, and you unwrap the saran, you time them, and they unwrap it. This has become the hilarious Christmas moment that they look forward to. They don't care about the gifts anymore. They want to do the saran wrap ball. So just letting you know that that's what I wanted to create. I wanted fun, game show, hilarity. I never had that.
Yeah.
I had pressure and fear and perfectionism and stomach aches and throwing up and secrets and lies and just darkness. So I am not having that anymore. And you don't have to have that anymore. So let yourself choose it, right? Like it's really interesting. Isn't it an interesting thing that we don't even think we can choose what it is?
Yeah. Thanks. Well, thanks for this session.
I'm here for you.
I know you have other support things coming up. Tell the people how during the holidays what you have going on, because it's pretty cool what you're doing to remind people they can choose themselves this holiday season.
Absolutely. So I'm going to do a workshop on the 18th of December, and it's called Reflect and Rise. And I'm going to give you a coupon that makes it half off. So they're going to get half off, but it's really like a cheap little thing. But it's a really incredible workshop where I help you let go of 2025. We're going to review it. We're going to celebrate it. We're going to feel it, and we're going to release it, because most people just go headlong into the next year without releasing the previous year. And there's been a lot that has happened over this year. So we really need to kind of bless it and let it go, right? Even the worst parts. Bless it and let it go. Thank you. And going to be different now, right? And then really manifesting what you want in 2026. Talk about being intentional. Literally saying, how do I want to be feeling? What is important to me in this year, right? And really thinking about that. So we're going to take 90 minutes and we're going to go through that. There's replays if you can't make it, but it's going to be a beautiful thing. But I also want to give you something really special. I want to give you one of my hypnotic recordings, and it's called All is Calm. Perfect title. But it is one of my hypnotic recordings. These are the recordings I give people after their 90-minute sessions to listen to for the next 21 days to really lock in the transformation. This is a standalone thing where you're just going to listen to this hypnotic recording, and it is all about presence and calm and peace over the holiday. And there's also a beautiful part about connecting with someone on the other side. So if you have a loss, if there's someone that you just, even if it's not a painful loss, if just something you would love to connect with your grandmother again, or connect with your grandfather again, or your sister, someone you've lost, it's going to let you do that. So it's beautiful. So I want to give that to your listeners and watchers.
I love that. Well, thank you so much. And if someone is watching this and it's March.
Yes, it might be March.
Tell us where we can find you, all the places, all the stations, the what have you. Sorry, I didn't mean to cry.
First of all, are we apologizing for tears?
No,
never.
We just carry on. This is how you carry on.
Yeah, no, your tears are beautiful, and I appreciate you really being honest, because what you just did in that moment, it gets me emotional, Carrie.
Yeah.
Someone just saw themselves.
Yeah.
Because that was me, Carrie. And then you just did that moment. Someone else right now just said, oh my God, I can choose myself. I don't have to just do that holiday. And they don't know what their holiday is going to look like, right? They're going through a divorce. Someone has passed. It's different, right? And they're afraid. But now it's like, okay, I can choose something for me, and I can think about what I really want. So you gave them that permission today. So that's why that moment needed to happen. So it was so good. So your tears are awesome. I love your tears. You can find me on Instagram, Liz.Svatek. But also I have a YouTube channel too. And you're going to be on my show.
Yes.
So we'll just share our YouTube joy together.
Love it. Love it. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your vulnerability. I know you said to me last night you've never talked about this topic.
Never.
So I appreciate me being the one to open that up for you. There is a lot of power behind your story. And the book is really, really great. I really enjoyed it.
Yes, and only on Amazon, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, all right. We're going to Amazon.
Amazon.
Please make sure you get the copy of the book, too. I'm so appreciative of our time together. I'm excited to be on your show. And everyone watching, we get permission to consider ourselves first this holiday season. How do you want to feel? Please put in the comments, What do you want to feel this holiday season or when you're watching this in March? And as always, please like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on Apple, iTunes, as well as Instagram, Carrie Murray. And as always, Liz, everyone, keep your head above the chaos and carry on.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Carrie On. Be sure to find us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And as always, like and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. And don't forget to keep your head above the chaos and carry on.